Hey, welcome back. We've just finished leaning, so now our character leans to one side or the other, depending on which direction we're turning while running. Now we're ready to continue with animations, and in this video we're going to work on crouching. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now I'm back in shooter_anim_instance.cpp, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to where we're adding our on-screen debug messages, and I'm going to go ahead and remove these. So let's go ahead and remove the on-screen debug message here in the turn in place function. And also in the lean function, we have a couple here. I'm going to delete these as well. So we don't need to use those anymore. Now, since we're going to be crouching, we're going to want a Boolean variable that will be true when we're crouching and false when we're not crouching. And I'm first going to add that to shooter character.h. So I'm going to find shooter character.h here. And down in the private section, I'm going to add a Boolean called be crouching. So bool be crouching. Now this will be a U property. And I'm going to make this one visible anywhere, blueprint read only. I'll put it in the category of movement, and we'll give it the meta specifier, allow private access equals true. And the comment will be simple, true when crouching. And we'll give this a default value of false in the constructor. So here in shooter_character.cpp, up here in the constructor, just under combat state, I'm going to add be crouching and give it the value of false. I might have said true. I meant false since we're not going to start out crouching. Now, we're going to add a public getter for this variable since we're going to need to get it in the shooter_anim instance class. So in shooter_character.h, scroll down to the public section and let's add a public getter. So this will be a force inline. It's going to return bool and it'll be called get crouching. It'll be a const function and it will return be crouching. So now we have a getter. So we're going to set this variable to true when we're crouching. So that means we're going to have to set up some inputs. So let's go back into the editor and in project settings, we'll go to input. And we're going to add an action mapping because I want this to be a one-off. Now, I'd like to use the control key for crouching, and for the gamepad, we'll use the right thumbstick button. We'll click that in when we're crouching. So we'll add a action mapping, and we'll call this crouch. Now, I'm going to click on the select the key value icon, and I'm going to hit the left shift key. I'm also going to add another binding, and for this one, I'm going to type gamepad right thumbstick, and I'm going to select gamepad right thumbstick button, and this will be toggled when we click the right thumbstick. Okay, so we can close out of that and we can go back into Visual Studio, and in shooter_character.h, I'm going to add a protected function for our callback for when we bind our action crouch. So let's go all the way up to the protected functions and let's create a new one. I'm going to make this a void function called crouch button pressed. So I can create a function body for this. And in crouch button pressed, the first thing I'm going to do is check to see if we're not in the air. So I want to use a not operator, and I'm going to use get character movement. And from the character movement component, I'm going to call is falling, which returns a Boolean, which will be true if we're in the air. So if we're not in the air, then I want to set be crouching to true. So let's do be crouching equals not be crouching. So actually, rather than simply setting it to true, we're going to toggle it. So if it's already true, we're going to set it to false. If it's already false, we'll set it to true. So whatever its truth value, the negation operator will negate it. Now let's go ahead and bind this in setUpPlayerInput component. So I'm going to go ahead and search for that. Here it is. And down here we have some action bindings. I'm going to copy the last one here. Just under it, I'm going to bind and I'm going to change the string to say crouch. It'll be when it's pressed, and the function will be crouch button pressed. That way we'll call that when we press the crouch button. Next, we're going to want a Boolean for crouching in our anim instance. So let's go to the anim instance.h and we'll scroll down to our private variables and we'll create a new Boolean, and this will be also called bCrouching. So this will be bool bCrouching. And I'm going to go ahead and copy the uProperty for lean and paste it on bCrouching. And for the category, I'm just going to call this, let's just make it crouching. That's fine. I'm going to give this a comment. And again, it'll just say true when crouching. And we need to set this in shooter_anim_instance.cpp. So in shooter_anim_instance.cpp, when we're updating all of our variables here in update animation properties, we can simply set this Boolean here. So right here at the top, we can say bCrouching, and we'll get our shooter character, which should be valid if we're in this if check. And from shooter character, we're going to call get crouching. And it's as simple as that. So that takes care of crouching from the C++ side. So we can go ahead and compile that, and in the next video, we'll set up crouching in our anim blueprint in the Unreal Engine editor. So we'll see you in the next video.